So here we are at the GWIC conference out in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We're here with Jude Marshall. And, if you've been following the Cool Project, you've probably been seeing me do a lot of work with different tribes and different Native American communities. And the reason being for that is because of this guy right here, who we connected over a couple of years ago, several years ago now. And we just built a really good relationship. And I wanted to make sure that we took the time to just talk stories and, have you on the Cool Project podcast, because it's something that we've always been talking about doing since you first met, but it always becomes, we get so busy with other projects that we're working on.
Right.
But now that we have some downtime at the conference, I figured, hey, let's just do it now. So,
let's do it.
So Jude, thanks for being over here. And before we start, can you just introduce yourself, who you are, your name, where you're from, the tribe you're part of, and everything?
Yeah. My name's Jude Marshall. I am Hoopa, Yurok, and Karuk. I grew up in Hoopa, California, Northern California. So it's, close to the Oregon border, about an hour inland from the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
Hoopa is the biggest land-based reservation in California. Then also connected with my Yurok side. I'm an enrolled Yurok tribal member. And also my Karuk side, my mom's from the Karuk people. And I participate in all three ceremonies within the culture of all three tribes there in different ways. A lot of my family's in Hoopa, though.
Nice. And growing up, what was it like growing up on the reservation? Because I know a lot of people who are listening to the Cool Project podcast, they have connections with Hawaii and everything. So they probably don't really understand too much about life on the reservation. So what was it like growing up in Hoopa?
Yeah. So I grew up in Hoopa. About when I was in kindergarten, we moved out to the coast, a little more, urban, suburban area compared to living on the reservation. So I had a good mixture of kind of living more of the, city life to me, but it's not really a big city compared to a real city. But then I just always stayed connected to my dad. My parents split. My dad moved back to Hoopa, so I'd always be in Hoopa on weekends and school breaks and summer throughout my whole life. And so living in Hoopa, it's just a small town. It's a reservation. Everybody knows each other. It's a really strong, tight-knit community, family. We're all connected. So if you're not related to someone in Hoopa, you're have a common person, a friend, you're all related, in a certain way. If we're not blood related, usually related through a family.
Marriage or something.
Through marriage, yeah.
And I think that was when you first took me to Hoopa, I thought it was super interesting just to kind of being out there and meeting your brother Joe, and seeing where he lives, and then going to all the different areas that they also go to, like the creek that we spend time together at as well, just to jump in that water. And one thing about growing up, were you always was culture a big part of your childhood?
Yeah, I mean, different aspects. So my Karuk side, my mom always made sure I participated, took me to my spiritual family's Karuk people. So she always took me up there to Kadamine, where we do the brush dance. It's the center of the world for Kadamine, for the Karuk people. And so I participated there. Then Hoopa, as I got older, high school years, college, participated in our world renewal ceremonies. We have our jump dance, our deerskin dance, and then our brush dance is a healing dance that we do for usually a sick child or someone that needs healing. And that's intertribal, where Hoopa, Yurok, and Karuk each have a camp. So also participating there, in all three tribes throughout my life, different times of my life I've participated. So culture is just growing up, my family, we're still part of that healing journey, of getting back to culture. Boarding schools on both sides, my mom and my dad. So he was supportive of me being involved with the culture. I used to do, we were talking about earlier, when we moved out to the coast, there was a dance group, and we do brush dance demonstrations. And so my dad was really proud about that, and my mom too. And I remember I would sit out there and do do the dance or brush dance in front of the family and stuff. And he recorded me on the camera, and and then playing sticks is our traditional game. As a kid, they used to have stick practice in Hoopa, and called down Hostler Field. It's it's a big stick field, 300-yard stick field. Wow. And my dad would take me down there in the summertime and have stick practice, and he made me a stick. And so that was culturally, that was something, one of the first things I remember my dad actually made me something traditional, made me the stick. He took me to practice, and I was about probably 7, 8, or 9, around that age. And just in Hoopa, you're just around culture too. Like,
can you explain about what sticks is?
Yeah,
I'm sure people probably listening or watching, they're like, okay, what exactly is sticks?
Yeah, sticks is like, I would say it's a mixture of lacrosse and wrestling.
Yeah, I'll say that too.
Maybe a little football too, because there's tackling in there too. It's a 3-on-3 game. You have people, everyone locks up and three, pair up and they lock up. And there's like your center or your scratcher. They're like your most dynamic person, and then you have your anchor man. That's usually someone like your strongest guy that will you're trying to hold like the fastest guy down. It's all strategy, and then you have your runner is the other side of the stick field. So, it's first. Usually they play best of 3, sometimes best of 5. It depends. Having to get your tassel. So you tie 2 pieces of wood tied together with rope or leather, and you have a stick with a pointed end there, and you have to get throw the tassel across the line, the goal,
And you go back to the hostile field you just talked about in Hoopa, 300 yards.
Yeah.
So that's if it's just for 3 people on each side. That's a lot of running.
Yeah, as a kid, I only played there as a kid, and they still do grown games. Sometimes, usually after like our ceremonies, our brush dance, they'll have a stick game, or during the Hooper Sovereign's Day, they have a like stick game, and like community members come out, and usually it's your family will get together, or friends, and they put a team together. Usually sometimes it'll be like, healthy tribal competition. Like Hoopa, Yurok, Karuk, people will have their different stick teams. And
was there any? What's the cultural significance of the stick games? Because with our culture in Hawaii, we have like the makahiki games, which is like a bunch of different, like ulumaika or spear throwing kaihe. We also have like the chicken fight and everything, where you're holding your one leg and hopping one leg and trying to push the guy out of the line. There's all these different games and competitions that we play.
Yeah.
Not only just for a festival, but also to kind of make sure our warriors and our people stay fit and healthy and agile.
Well, it's kind of similar for our tribes too. Is like it was our traditional sport. It was our only sport that we had was our stick game, that like our physical sport like that. So it did have that healthy competition. It did help. I feel like it was a healthy way to release maybe that aggression too. I mean, some say it was used to prevent war. So I think in a certain way it was, because like having that healthy competition. Yeah. And sometimes if there was a dispute, there could have been a stick game to settle it up, to not have to go any further than that. Yeah. But I feel like it was just a healthy way to release that aggression, in play. And it gave us, like our stick players were like, I heard stories of like our enforcers too, like our Indian law, like if someone broke the law and they weren't making payment or anything to like settle up with whoever they did wrong to. Usually it's like that. The stick player was kind of part of that enforcement of making sure like things did get settled up, and so I heard that
interesting
story. So I think sticks just help bring balance to our community, to our tribes, our villages, by having that game.
Outside of culture, were there any other things? Because it sounds like you lived pretty much very strong within the culture. You did the dance, you did ceremonies, you did stick games and everything. Anything else that you kind of gravitated towards growing up? What's also like?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing, the contemporary culture, like what's going on today, and that's basketball. Yeah. That's in Hoopa. It's a big basketball community. I grew up. I lived on the coast. My mom went to school at Humboldt State, graduated. She got a teaching job in Orleans, which is Karuk country. So about 4th grade, I moved to Orleans, which was then only like 30 minutes from my dad instead of an hour. So made it easier to go see him in Hoopa too. But that's when I really like fell in love with basketball, because my mom was a school teacher. So after school, I'd stay after and shoot. And that really like gave me something to do, kept me out of trouble. I always call it hoop medicine, like basketball, like, brought a lot of confidence, empowered me. Like, even when I first played, I thought I was really good, but I wasn't, but I just kept on playing and putting in the work. And then, having that community support. Like, so my dad would go to all the games, and
That's awesome.
when I was a freshman, our team made it to the state championship. The only public school in like 20 years to make it to the Division 5 state championship. We played a team from LA, so I got brought up and was on part of that. And then throughout my high school career, like played ball. Got our team my senior year to the NorCal semifinals, or the Final Four in NorCal in Division 5, and yeah, I was just then played a little college ball at CR, and since then, like, basketball has always been like big part of my life, and it's like that's where I've created a lot of my friends was through sports, and it always just gave me confidence.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that too, because sports is like kind of my other thing that I gravitated towards. Having like a learning disability too, going to school and academics. I was horrible in school, academic wise and everything. I couldn't learn that kind of environment.
Yeah.
But sports was always something that I gravitated towards, and that was where I could create my confidence, also build my support group, get my community, create relationships with friends and everything.
Yeah.
But I think that's so important. And you reach a really important part too, was that your dad would come to some of the games and everything.
Yeah.
And that growing up, that kind of stuck out to me too. Was my dad always made sure he was at the games, or he would even like kind of, and he worked a lot too. Like there was some times where we didn't see my dad for a long time because he was just always in the office.
Yeah.
But I remember he made a point to like kind of put that all to the side and coach our teams sometime, But I just think it's so, especially in Native communities, to have that father figure around.
Yeah.
Because I think that's something that a lot of Native boys, young boys, are missing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And we come across that in our community in Hawaii. So I think that's so great that we can just kind of share that, and we're lucky that we had that.
Yeah. Yeah, really, really thankful for my dad. Like, he wasn't a basketball player growing up. He was a wrestler, a football player, but he saw like that I was really into it, so he supported it. He built my brother and I like a homemade basketball hoop, wooden post, and put it in the ground and put the backboard, like put the Hoopa Warriors, put the Warriors logo on there, and just like got us all the basketball tapes, and like recorded like almost every single game.
Awesome.
So like he was like went to like every single game he can go to, and that really stuck out to me, like growing up and being supportive. And now I'm a father. I have 3 kids and a husband. My wife Wendy Marshall, and my 3 kids. I got Hazel's high school, and I got a first grader Yamich, and my son Kavish, who's in preschool, and they're all into basketball now.
Nice.
So like now I'm there like trying to support them, like getting them shooting hoops with them, and going to their games. Coached my daughter Hazel's team when she was younger, and now I'm coaching my son Kavish's team right now, and now it's really awesome, like seeing them like love the game and get into it, and it's like another way we can connect.
That's why I think we work so well together, because we kind of live like parallel lives,
Mm-hmm.
Because the same thing, I have 3 young ones, they're all into sports. I'm coaching them now and everything. You just remind me of a story. My dad got quadruple bypass heart surgery.
Oh, dang.
And I remember we were playing football. We were in high school at the time, and it was a big deal because it was a huge operation.
Yeah.
But I remember the day he was released, we had a football game. He showed up, so he was holding a pillow just to make sure all the staples stayed in.
Yeah.
But he showed up to the game at the stadium. He was holding his pillow and walking up the stairs. That kind of dedication is so crazy to see.
Yeah.
But it made an impact. So
yeah.
And going back to how trying to influence and help out the youth, we've known each other for several years already.
Yeah.
So how do you use basketball now? Like we just talked stories how you had a clinic recently for the youth. So how do you integrate some of the things that you've learned growing up in order to help out your community now?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up always had that instilled in me that I wanted to give back to my Native community, and I think it's just a responsibility I've just always felt.
Yeah.
Like, I think all my family on both sides are really fortunate, or they're living their life pretty good, and they're giving back to the community. So maybe that just always influenced me to want to give back. So like going to school, I graduated. I have a recreation degree, minor in Native American Studies, and I mean, it took me a while to even figure out what I wanted to major in. But I was like, well, recreation, that's like something I'm really into, and like promoting wellness to my community. And that with that degree, I was like, well, that can help open doors. So, I got into the community nutrition program. I've been working at United Indian Health Services close to 14 years.
14 years?
I was working part-time in the traditional land management program while I was going to school at Humboldt State, doing like landscaping, invasive plant removal. And then I took a job with the Yurok tribe in social work and grant writing, and then got a job with UHS as a community nutrition manager. Been in this, this role for, say 11 years, I think.
Oh, nice.
10 years, 10, 11 years.
With that, I mean, I think one thing you're kind of losing track is
losing track of my years.
The Padwa Garden.
Yeah.
I think that's such a, I remember first time going there, meeting Uncle Ed when he's doing the fish sticks.
Yeah.
The salmon on sticks.
Fish on sticks.
Fish on sticks. And just seeing the amount of produce that you're able to produce on a weekly basis during season time, and hold those farmers markets twice a week.
Yeah.
Was just like, to me, it was like, wow, that's super impressive from this small little garden.
Yeah.
On your own, like a very independent community garden. How much has that played a role within the community as well as for yourself?
I mean, yeah, food is everything. I mean, for me, like I say, food is good medicine. And going to school, that's when I started getting to like the ancestral diet and using foods that are like similar to our traditional foods, eating a similar way. And I felt my body change, and it really empowered me to because once I got done playing sports, I played college ball at CR and went to Humboldt, and I just noticed a change in my body. And when I found this certain way of eating that really got me. I was always been into food, but I found something that really worked. And that's what really empowered me to even want to get into trying to be a community nutrition manager, going for that position. Because when I was working there in the traditional land management program, I knew the former manager, and I always thought that was such an awesome job.
Yeah.
So with that, getting in that position, I was like, how can I help impact my community? And by promoting wellness with food, and that's everything through the farmers market. With our program, we do a lot of workshops around gardening, traditional foods, food sovereignty, and then wellness. So mind, body, spirit. So for me, knowing my community, knowing basketball is really popular, I had this funding through GWIC, Good Health and Wellness in Indian Country. And they told me, well, whatever, however you want to do it, we'll support it as long as you put in your work plans. I was like, well, what if I want to put on a basketball clinic or a basketball tournament? Just put it in your work plan. I was like, okay. So I had the idea a couple of years ago. UHS used to put on a tag basketball tournament, which hasn't happened for 10 years. But besides, that's a big endeavor. So I was like, well, I can handle doing a basketball clinic. Mm-hmm. So I brought that back, and then trying to use sports, physical activity as a way to promote healthy eating. Because it's when you get a kid in there and they're working hard, maybe they broke a little sweat, and then, hey, it's time for a smoothie, or hey, here's some Padwa strawberries. Yeah. I feel like that's going to be more impactful. They're going to remember how good that strawberry tastes, how good that smoothie tastes.
The strawberries are so good, man.
Yeah, so it's so using that, trying to promote nutrition indirectly too, not just you need to eat this certain way, but put on these community healthy wellness events
and serve healthy
food. And then serving healthy food, and then showing different ways of eating healthy or having healthy beverages, doing we do food cooking demos too through our program. So anytime we can bring the community together, our youth, that's a good time. Then we can then we have their attention. Then we can promote that healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, I think it's always creating that bridge first, right?
Yeah.
Creating that relationship.
That
trust is so important. I think a lot of times organizations miss that.
Yeah.
They go right towards just the problem, rather than being hey, let's meet on the same level, and let's work together, meet you where you are, meet me where I am, and then we'll go from there. I think a lot of times organizations just go this is how you should be doing it, this is what you should do, and kind of telling them what to do. Yeah. Which sometimes could be even more traumatic for them, because that's all people are doing is telling them what to do.
Right.
They're not giving any responsibility or any autonomy or any freedom to take on that responsibility.
Right.
So I think it's so important that you have these little moments where you help them have that sense of responsibility, autonomy, for their own health and wellness. Because it's after doing something super physical, you want something nutritious.
Right.
And it's good. You can tell when it's something good that you eat and you're like, oh man, this feels good for my body.
Yeah.
And like you said, food is medicine. Your body knows when it's taking in good medicine.
Right.
And so that's awesome. And so what exactly is your role over at UIHS?
Well, I'm the community nutrition manager, so I manage the Padwa Community Food Garden, which is a 3-acre garden. It's more than a garden; it's like a wellness center.
Yeah.
I was like my little story of like when I graduated with my rec degree, I wanted to manage wanted to oversee like a wellness center, like a gym, and it was like a couple years ago. I was leaving the garden and I was driving down the dirt road back to the clinic, and I was like, you know what, I do manage a wellness center. It's the kind of wellness center we need more of. People are outside, they're connecting with the earth, they're connecting with each other, connecting with the food. They're also giving back. So like with our program, we do farmers markets, but we also donate to tribal events, to the ceremonies. We have an elder nutrition program that's part of tribal public health, which we're under. So we donate a lot of our produce up there, and they have meals Monday through Friday, and they deliver to elders who can't make it to their elder nutrition luncheon. So I was like, yeah, well, that actually did fulfill my goal, was to run a wellness center, and it's like we need more of that. We need more spaces like that, are inclusive in promoting that wellness through healthy mind, body, spirit, using food.
Yeah,
right?
you touched upon that, such an important part, because it's like we often just lose sight of all the things that we've actually have accomplished
Right.
through the years of our journey. And so it's so funny that you look back and it's been like, wow, I'm actually
Doing what I was planning on doing.
Doing what I was planning on doing, but it just kind of, you get so mixed up in the day-to-day work that you lose sight of like the bigger picture and the whole journey itself and what it took to get to the point where you are now.
Right.
And that kind of led us to us connecting.
Right.
Like with this whole Padwa Garden and UIHS and the GWIC, and that was something that I remember the day where you contacted me. I think it was actually during COVID, right?
Yeah,
like at the beginning of like 2020, like maybe 2021, where
I followed you on Instagram first, and then I think I just like reached out to you.
Yeah, I think from this the first meeting that we had, we kind of just like we're just bouncing ideas off and getting super excited about the potential relationship we could create off of just having our two organizations work together,
right?
And us bouncing our ideas off of each other and making something happen, making the project come together. And I think that was why it's so interesting that here we are at GWIC for the second time.
Right.
In August last year, we were in Alaska. This year, we're in Albuquerque working on that project and presenting on that project that you had in your mind. So can you kind of share like this whole concept that you had in your brain?
Yeah. Like working at UIHS as a community nutrition manager, when I first started there, I saw all the great work that was being done there at the garden, and I was like, well, how can I support the work that's being done, and how can I amplify it? How can I get the word out, like share? So it's always been in my mind, like I really always wanted to like have that social media, like that documentation through video, because we serve a big service area. We serve 9 tribes, and we're spread out, and not everybody can make it to the garden. So I've always wanted to promote the garden and the community, and what's going on in the community through the digital space. So yes, I think that's been on my mind since I first started, and I slowly was doing stuff. I've always helped create the Padwa Garden Instagram page and Facebook page, and documenting through the years. And then just had with the video series, I always wanted to do something. It's kind of like something that I wish I had when I was a kid, and something that I want for my own kids to have. So like, people sharing their stories around wellness, and showing also not just their stories, but a little bit of how-tos, And so, so whatever it is, I kind of have like 5 areas that kind of came to mind, was like sports, gardening, cooking, traditional foods, and like physical activity are like the 5 areas. It doesn't have to be like that exact 5, but that's kind of where I started. Mm-hmm. And, the people in the community, like, whatever they're into, like whether it's fishing, basketball, gardening at the garden, getting that on video. So like during COVID, when we're all in isolation and home, and my wellness was being affected, not being able to go places, and I just noticed my eating habits went kind of the other direction that I normally was doing, and my physical activity kind of really slowed down. And I I followed you on Instagram, and I saw your YouTube page, and you had a lot of content on there, a lot of like, workouts, and like how, follow along workouts that really helped me. So like I started like just working out mainly for my mental health. I mean, and then like, you get that feel good feeling after you work out, and just like I just felt my mood feel better. I just felt like something. My day was
again.
like,
Yeah, it
I
was
accomplished
clicking.
something in the day after I did that, and like, and all the like resources you put out there on your YouTube page, and I was like, well, I want something like that for my program, highlighting like the work that our garden's doing, and then people in the community. And so that's when I reached out to like first asked you to do like a training around like social media,
Yeah.
and then from there I was like, "You ever interested in doing a video project?"
And I
Then
remember, I
kind of
remember
throw that
telling you,
idea.
I was like, yeah, I'm not a video guy or
It's
anything.
like, yeah,
Like I do all my own stuff. I'm just constantly moving my camera around. It's just me. But that's why I just like really am appreciative of your trust and willingness to just kind of be like, hey, let's just give it a try.
yeah. I mean, I saw the work you were doing, and it's like this really spoke to me, like how you're working with the Native Hawaiian community, and I saw a lot of parallels of what's going on in the Native community here in my area, and so yeah, I just really liked what you were doing, and then it's like I really would like to do something similar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the whole idea with the Coop Project too, and even with all like the content that I share now, and I used to share a lot more fitness stuff before, was because I wanted to make health and wellness more accessible
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
people. I mean, I had the gym during that time too,
Yeah.
so it was also a way to get people more interested in coming to the gym, but also people just wanted to get some information from a cultural lens,
Yeah.
and from somebody who looked like them, and who kind of understands what they're going through and everything. Then putting out all that content was so important for me because it was my way of serving the community.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't for the likes or the views and everything. It was just like, look, here is a tool in order to connect with the community,
Right.
in order to make it more accessible to them because this is where they are. And I'd rather have them watch a person from Hawaii who understands what they're going through, who may be able to connect with them on a deeper level. And they're talking about health and wellness, fitness,
And that's why I like really gravitated towards what you're doing, because it's like you weren't trying to sell me anything. You just put it out there for free. And I was like, there's so much information out there that you could find. There's a lot of different fitness people out there doing that. But I'm like, well, I could just tell your intention was, to help your Native Hawaiian community.
Yeah.
And I really like spoke to me, and I was like, and then trying to find people out there in the Native community who are like-minded, and just like you seem very similar in what your approach and things you're trying to do for your Native Hawaiian community is like the same thing I'm trying to do here. So I was just like, let's see if we can work together.
Yeah, and I think that was why it was so exciting to take on this project with you, because so it was my first time being introduced to the Native American side of everything, and the different tribes and the different ceremonies and cultures and communities, and so I felt honored to just be invited into the community.
Right.
And meeting all the members who we've interviewed over the time, and had some great stories with some people because everybody knew us coming from the outside.
Yeah.
I did
very accepting of you.
Yeah,
too.
very
It's like,
accepting. So
it's just really come in, and just really, really chill, and just like, just kind of meet people where they're at.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of like my intention. I remember we always talk about mana, like energy, and like we have so much mana within ourselves. But whenever you go to a new community, you kind of have to just kind of bring yourself down, ground yourself a bit more, and kind of feel the energy that's there, and then kind of be respectful and mindful, especially when you're speaking with elders like Uncle Ed, or with Willard, like going to his homelands in Appa village. That was a huge trek for us to go out there and visit him and see all the salmon and smoking the salmon and helping him process all of it. I mean, before we even sat down to talk, he put me to work for like 2 to 3 hours, and I was happy to do that, But it goes back to like even your brother was saying, like, and Ramon was there, was talking about how like, hey, we're gonna go there, just ask, hey, what do you need help with, So it was. I'm just always grateful for the opportunity to be welcomed into that community and meeting all these great people.
Right. Yeah. That's like for me, I've been very, very thankful, like growing up and having that. We call it the village, having the people around on different sides, my Karuk side, Hoopa side, Yurok side, being around people who are doing the work, and I'm always like, man, and then I see them have all this knowledge, and I'm learning from it. It's like, but like, how can I like help share what they're willing to share out to the broader community? And a lot of people are willing to share. You just have to like ask them.
Yeah. And I think it's also you built that relationship for a long time, so they have trust in you, and I think that's very important that you understand that. It's like the reason why they're being open to me interviewing them and doing all these videos and so forth, is because they trust you and understand like your intentions behind
Yeah.
it. When it comes to ceremony and so forth, um, I remember one of the big ceremonies that you're getting ready for was your daughter's flower dance,
Yeah.
and I thought that was so interesting because it was bringing back these traditional ceremonies of passage.
Right.
And I think we talk about this a lot, is how important it is for the youth to have these traditional ceremonies for passage of coming of age and understanding like who they are and the role they play and everything. Can you kind of share, and you don't have to share too much, but just can you share a little bit about what that whole process was like?
Yeah, I mean, it was a beautiful process, beautiful journey for my daughter Hazel, who had her coming of age ceremony, her Karuk coming of age, and yeah, just growing up, attending the ceremony throughout, my high school, maybe high school or right after high school, I started attending the ceremonies, the flower dance, and yeah, we first, my wife and I, when she went to her first flower dance when we were pregnant, when she was having Hazel, and she's in the belly, Hazel's in there, and she attended her first flower dance, and then 13 years later, we're having a flower dance for Hazel, and then once Hazel was born, we go almost every year to help out, be there, whatever's needed, help dance, help bring food, just help out with that ceremony, and then we always just were there and didn't really wasn't sure if Hazel would have one, but then you know Hazel's like probably like 6, 7 years old, and they're like, Hazel's going to be having her flower dance, so we're like, oh, okay, we better start like
Preparing.
getting ready and preparing, and but it wasn't like a year or two before the actual flower dance that really were like having to go like gather material. My wife and then her circle, like her like called aunties, came and helped out with making Hazel a dress. So like part of those that coming of age is like preparing them to become a woman. So she's becoming a woman. So what are things she needs when she's in womanhood, and so certain things, you learn how to cook acorns and learn how to gather acorns, and she cooked them, and then we learned how to preserve them as one of the things. And so during her flower dance, her ehuk, she was fasting for the that ceremony. And it's also like all the family came out to support, and our extended family being there for her. And it was a really powerful thing, like just seeing a change in her emotions, her attitude, and her outlook in life. With that dance, once you're done with it, you can never say you're alone. Everybody was there to support her. We had really great turnout of family and friends who came
awesome.
for her dance. And yeah, it's like my dad was, he was there also there, help participate and be part of the dance too. And that was something real special. Like all not just my dad, but everybody, my wife, my kids, my younger daughter Yamich, and she was dancing for her older sister and helping out, and my mom, and the aunties, and the cousins and nephews. They all had a place. The nieces, they all came and helped out, support, getting ready for the dance, gathering materials, and then participating in the ceremony itself. So it was a big transition for Hazel and just for the whole family too.
I think that's such a powerful thing of having all this support for Hazel for this coming of age and this passage, and there's that documentary, right? Long Line of Ladies.
Yeah.
So I think
Ati,
with Ati and everything, and Ami and Prim.
Yep.
So I think if you're interested in learning more about this flower dance and the ehuk,
Yeah.
I think you should definitely check it out. Long Line of Ladies.
Just put it in the search, and I'm sure it'll pop up.
Because I watched it and I was like, wow, this is very impactful. And I think from a Native Hawaiian perspective, I'm looking at that. I was like, okay, what kind of things do we have in place for our community? What kind of practices and ceremonies and traditions do we have? For like the young boys, like their whole thing was to get their malo first, the first malo. Like their loincloth and everything. And it was a ceremony that went along with that.